Good day, welcome to FMA Discussion. This is episode 436. And yes, I'm back from a month of relaxation, reassessment, and all that good stuff. But excited to be back, nonetheless. And tonight, somebody who I really like and enjoy and have profound respect for is that guy in Canada, Growling Dog. Seen pictures with his little dog there, Growling. We're going to be having him on talking about his trip to Finland, all that good stuff, his lens on sparring, his students abroad. I think it's pretty exciting that he gets, called over there. So obviously he's got to be showing some good stuff. So we're going to get into all that. And so without further ado, Rene, Growling Dog himself. Hey, how are you? Oh, I can't hear you. So, Rene, your voice is not coming through. It was before. Nothing yet. Can't be that serious, though. So, folks, if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. And smash that like button. We're just getting started. So this can't be anything too serious. We were hearing him before, so he's going to come back in. Sometimes that in itself does a trick. Those technical glitches, sometimes that we can't explain. Let's try this.
Is that better?
Yes.
There we go.
Yes, absolutely. So I don't know what you're saying, but I say welcome. Thank you for coming back on. I thought it'd be nice and fitting to have you back on the first episode. Always get along with you. It's always an aspect of humor while some profound content. So how you been?
I'm good, man. As I was saying, I've got a lot of positive feedback from the test. A lot of people are just super happy to see you back.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Well, I do appreciate that. Yeah, so that's nice to hear, Oz. So now, kids okay? They're not ready to jump on you or attack you?
I literally made dinner just before I kind of snuck away. And just to prove that I do own the shirt, it is here.
There we go. There we go.
That's the original
mustard-colored
shirt.
That's it. You do, in fact, have one. All right.
I have a mustard yellow shirt, but I prefer this one today.
Yes. And what is that? That says,
breaking news. I don't care.
breaking news. I don't care. So, folks, if you have not seen the profound episode 355, that's you go watch that. And that's going to be more on Rene's bio. This one, we're going to kind of tackle his trip to Finland, some other specific topics. But if you want to give his overall lens of his journey, I would suggest you go see episode 355. I still cannot watch it in its entirety.
It's touching. I usually, like after I watch that, it usually takes me about an hour of just, like self-reflection.
The magnitude of that episode needs you have to sit in a chair and just reflect.
It's crazy. And I don't know if your lady's the same, but when when my wife comes home and just sits, like sees me sitting on a chair, just looking outside into nothingness, she just puts her hands on my shoulder and says 355, and I just nod.
She knows. I understand. Take all the time you need.
Yeah, I'll take care of dinner. You do
you. For a drink.
Yes.
That's so funny. So anyhow, Finland. So what prompted this trip to Finland?
When I was teaching in Spain, one of the group leaders of the Dog Brothers in Finland was there, and we kind of hit it off. And he enjoyed the material that I was teaching, and he kind of said, like I said to you before, people always say, oh, you should do this, or you should come over here, and it's like, oh, you should come to Finland one day. And I was like, yeah, sure. being polite, and then I actually get like the formal invite, and your ticket is on this day. So it's like, or the seminar's on this day.
Wow.
So that was pretty crazy. Christo, who runs the group out there, really
Mm.
cool person, good fighter. Definitely has like a zero ego group, which is pretty awesome.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
And Susanna as well, who's part of that group. Actually, I sent you a picture with a knife in it. She actually had that knife made for me. She's actually a Piper student as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I know there's some folks up that way that are, yeah, okay. So going back to when you were in Spain,
Mhm.
you said they liked the material you were teaching. So it sounds like there were a few folks teaching there, or?
It was me and Benjamin. It
Oh,
was
okay.
we taught for a week, which it didn't really sink in that I was teaching for a week until like day 3, where it's like, oh man, I got another like 6-hour seminar today, right? It's so like 2-day seminars are cool. 3, I've done a few, but I've never done a week, right?
That's,
Where it's
I
like,
can imagine. That's, yeah. I've done
breakfast,
2 days
train.
and I'm like spent.
Oh yeah, like breakfast, train, surf, um, come back, eat, train, take a break, train. It's like, and then when you're not training, you talk about training, right? So,
Yeah.
by day 5, I can honestly say I was pretty spent. Like I was,
Yeah.
like
No, I
my brain
believe
was
it.
like
It's a
mush.
lot. Then you got the hour, you got the hours change, and then yeah, you're away, obviously. I mean, you're recuperating from the flight. I mean, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot.
I went to visit my mom right after because she lives in Madrid, and I think I slept for like 4 days. I
I don't
haven't seen you
remember.
in a while.
I might have, yeah.
And she's trying to feed me as I'm sleeping because I'm getting too thin, according to her,
So funny.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, and again, like Benjamin was teaching his version of DBMA, which is pretty awesome.
Okay.
And then I was teaching Kirby, but I was also mixing Kali in, and then just stick fighting, right?
Okay. Okay. So, all right. So you're, this guy from Finland, he expresses, Christo, expresses interest bringing you over. He actually follows through, gets a hold of you, contacts you. Now, was this past night the first time you've been there?
To Finland, yeah, it was my first time out there.
Okay. And so, wow. So, like, how long were you out there for?
4 days.
4 days. Now, was it
Yeah.
4 days of teaching or just
No,
you're there 4 days?
I was teaching for 2. Like, so I left on a Thursday, and I left Toronto on a Thursday, and I got there on Friday. So I was traveling for, I think it was a total like 14 hours or something like that.
Mm.
And then literally got off the plane, we grabbed a coffee, and then we went to the park and we trained. Uh,
So, okay, you and him individually at first?
no, it was actually, there's another gentleman, Polite Dog, Peter from the UK was there, Susanna was there. And we were supposed to train, but I just kind of threw a mask on and we just kind of did some like sparring and whatnot, just running around.
Yeah.
Um, and again, like this is after 14 hours, so it was kind of cool. Um, and we did that for about an hour or 2. Um,
Okay.
and it was cool. It was just very organic, right? It wasn't like any expectations or anything. It's just like let's go out and train and hit each other.
So now, while you were training with these guys, but you eventually you did a seminar as well, correct?
Yeah, yeah, 2 days.
Okay, okay. And so at the seminar, like what did you try to focus on?
It was a Kirby seminar mostly.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I'd I'd say the first I'd say about 80% of it was Kirby. And then at the end, I just had this idea of like, okay, let's just Shark Tank people and hit each other a bit. The second day was actually more of a spar day, but it was just like spar with breaking the teams up and just kind of like going over stuff.
Mm.
It was it's also interesting because like when I teach in Spain, I speak Spanish, so it's not a big deal. When I teach in North America, I speak English, obviously. Uh, but when I was in Finland, like they speak English, like, Crystal speaks English and Susanna speaks perfect English, but some of the participants, their English wasn't like 100%, right?
Right. Okay.
So, it's funny, sarcasm sometimes doesn't translate well. Or it's more like people looking at you like, what the hell did you just say to me?
Yeah.
But I had this really cool moment where, like you transcend language and then people who fight understand what you do and you start communicating through the teaching, right? Like through the knowledge. See like the light bulbs turn on. It's like, oh, okay, I see that. And, like Crystal would take people aside and he would kind of explain some of the things if I was.
Translate. Okay.
But it was cool because at first it was kind of like herding cats, right? I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? And like the worst thing that could eat, it wasn't that I felt like I was losing control, but there was that fear of like,
language barrier.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
everything
nobody
else.
knows what the fuck I'm saying except for Chris
Yeah.
and Anna. And so, when people give you that look, like,
Yeah.
what? And but like I
Yeah,
said,
you're
it's like,
oh no.
yeah, and it's like, oh God, here comes a good Yelp review, right? And
Here comes, yeah.
but then like all of a sudden, like literally, I just, because the first half of the seminar we taught on a soccer field outside, and then for the second part we went back into this yoga studio, and it was this weird moment where I just saw everything click and everybody was doing what I said. Right?
Yeah.
Or I found that I didn't need as much communication as much as I needed to show.
As that you thought initially. Okay.
And then I don't know, it was this weird osmosis thing that happened that all of a sudden people were doing it, right? And we did all basic strikes, basic blocking, basic footwork, and then the randomness that goes through my head. And for those who actually have been to my seminars before, it's not I was showing you a technique, you partner up with somebody, and I sit back in the corner and text my wife. My seminars, it's all gas, no brakes. Like if people don't tell me they need a break, I just won't.
You just keep going. Okay.
I don't care. I think when one of the times I taught in Ottawa with the Ottawa clan, Dog Brothers clan, just to make sure, it was like they were literally going for like 6 hours, and I turned to one of the guys, I'm like, man, these guys suck. What's wrong with their energy? And it's like, Rene, we've been going straight without stop. Because they were like, it looked like they're underwater, right? Like, oh.
Yeah.
But nobody stopped. Like, that's the crazy thing. It just, everybody kept going, right?
Yeah.
And that was the cool thing there too. It's just like, I'm really bad at first aid, and I'm really bad at judging when people are tired. So I just kind of keep going until I see someone just like flop over.
Yeah, flop over and just pass out. So when you mentioned the sparring, were you focusing on sparring as far as Krabi Wrong, or just other modules?
No, that's a good question, and it's something that I kind of, Krabi Wrong is an art that I train in, that I incorporate into fighting. It's not like there's Krabi Wrong fights or Kali fights. Okay. And the way I look at it and the way I teach it is like, you're in a fight and you have a stick in your hand. And that, or you happen to have a stick in your hand, you have a different weapon in your hand. It's like when I was saying this to Benjamin. So, if I pick up a rock, I'm not in a rock fight.
Yeah.
If I pick up a chair, I'm not in a chair fight. And if I pick up a rooster, I'm not in a. Anyways. But it's just literally, I'm in a fight. But if I have more things that I could use, especially with Kirby taught me a lot of false lead.
The false lead. Okay.
Aggression, forward pressure, elbows, knees, headbutts, kicking. What I found, and this is again just me, so please don't throw too many rocks. I find most people, when they do, if they've been training specifically in some Filipino styles, they don't punch, kick, elbow, like they don't do a lot of that stuff. it's very heavy on the stick, and to me, it just doesn't make any sense. If you look at some of the original promos for the Dog Brothers, like people are getting folded in half with some of the kicks, right? Especially from Marlon.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember seeing like when he got like to liver or to floating rib. I mean, yeah, those guys were dropping. I mean, yeah, it's a good point you made, and I'm wondering. Yeah, I think, and I'm not saying I'm not guilty, but I'm almost wondering though, it's because you have this thing in your hand and you're feeling this thing, and I think it maybe perhaps everything else goes out the window as far as like what you think you can do. I'm just thinking out loud.
No, for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely for me. I remember when I first started, I really fixated on the fact that I had a stick in my hand.
yeah.
Right?
I'm guilty. I mean, yeah, on there, but interesting though. So, all right. So while you went there to kind of stress Kavika Bomb, but as far as the sparring, it's not, you put into there that, hey, you can, I'm just giving you tactics from here.
It is a you do you kind of scenario. But I did mention, seeing that we worked on all these techniques and attributes, why don't we see if we can pull some of these off? And what better way of doing it than having someone, who you're hoping is going to stay within that game, that realm, and try some of the stuff out.
Okay.
Like what I was saying to one of the people there, I said, if you could jump out of an airplane and guarantee that you're never going to die or get hurt when you hit the ground, would you do it? And people are saying yes. I'm like, then try something that you've never tried before in sparring.
Right. Yeah. As far as the intensity, did you kind of regulate it, or you just let him go where it goes?
I give the speech in the beginning. Like, hey, we're sparring. Try not to take someone's head off their body. But my rule of thumb, like I said before, most of my injuries that I've gotten in training have been through sparring.
Yeah, not right. I remember saying that.
So I always tell people, like, you go ahead and you dictate. Like if you and I were going to spar, I would just ask you, how hard do you want to go?
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to fight with? Like, you want to fight with an action flex? Do you want to fight with a rattan stick? Like, you tell me what you want to fight with, and then you tell me what how hard you want to go. But I want to hear it coming from you, right? Because if you amp it up, I'm not even going to say, hey, tone it down. I'm just going to give it back to you.
Right.
And and I think it's a good way for people to learn also that I know people get excited and they get all freaked out, but you gotta I gotta be mindful of that shit.
Yeah, like right. This person tells you like, hey, when we lack of a, when we go 60%, you know what I mean, and then they amp it up, and when you're thinking like, hey, I thought we were sticking at 60, and then you got to kind of amp it up too to offset their power coming in and their velocity and speed and such.
Well, I had a stray dogs gathering once, and there's I'll call him a kid, but he wasn't a kid. There's a kid there that was I'd seen around. I've never seen him actually come and fight or anything. And towards the end of the day, he came up to me and said, Rene, I'd like to have a sparring match with you. And he was very formal about it. Like, hey, I really want to, I'm afraid of doing this. I don't know if I should do it. And I seen him moving around. So it's not like it's his first day. And he goes, I want to go really light. I just want to work on my technique. And I was like, I repeated what he said. You want to go really light? He said, yes. I said, okay, no problem. So I took off my gloves and just like I put on my thin mask, and I went to go tap his stick, and he just went as hard as he could, and he cracked me at the bottom of the jaw. And I beat the tar out of him. Like I was furious, right? It just set me right off.
Yeah, understandably.
And the people around me, because they heard him speaking to me, they're like, so the people didn't see the hit come in. They're like, what the fuck was that? Like, what's going on? And anyways, he fell back, and I pushed my stick on him, And as I eased up to, because that's when I was like, I think we've had enough. He cocked his leg back like he was going to kick me in the face. And I said, like, you kick me and I will put you in the hospital. Like, I was furious, right? And then
Really? I
after
mean, I
that,
don't know the guy, but he
no,
sounds like
I asked the dude, I'm like, what's going on? And he goes, oh, I got excited. And I'm like, dude, that's not excited. Like, you actually went out to hurt me.
I mean, come on. He's going at your jaw, trying to kick you on the ground.
Yeah.
That's not, yeah. I mean,
And the
that's,
thing is, and when he smashed me across the face, I actually saw him smile. And I think that's what really set me off.
yeah.
I was
Here's
like,
the
yeah.
thing, too. That's not my mistake.
So again, and I know it sounds like an absolute jerk thing to do to somebody, but again, I'm not the punching bag, right?
Yeah, yeah, right. Like I'm not the doormat.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's why I get hurt a lot during sparring.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got folks like that. We got here. What's Rich saying here? Hey, Rich, my 50% can be more. Some people's 50 to 70. Sure, just the verbal level to me is not enough. Have an example of the hit is good. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Hey, tap me here. Let me
Yeah.
know. That makes sense. I
Oh
can.
yeah, definitely. Like Rich, I always tell people, I'll hit you as hard as you hit me.
Yeah, yeah, right. I mean, yeah, there you go. We got folks. All right, we got a bunch of folks here checking out Growling Dog. We got Daryl. Hey, Daryl. We got Eric O'Brien. We got Maynard. We got Robert Small. We got Evan. We got Gabe. Hey, Gabe. We got Pat sounds like he's from Ottawa, your area, or Bayou. Rich Parsons, Mark, Sebastian, Poya, Ken Jowers, and Trish, one of my favorite female friends on here, Trisha Dawn, and Ryan Thomas, and then Kurt from Alaska.
Sweet.
Whoa! Did you see this?
What happened? I can't say. What? That's amazing.
What's he doing here?
That's amazing.
I just turned around. I saw him in the blinds.
Oh my God. Oh. And for only $3.55, you can have that picture. That's awesome.
I look at the blinds. I'm seeing. Well, I'm sorry that you had to go through that with that young man, but it sounds like you might have done him some good by teaching him that lesson. I hope, at least.
Yes and no. There's two ways I look at that. I don't feel bad for what I did. I just feel bad for the way it looked. Because from an outsider's point of view, they're like, "What's that asshole doing?" Right? Like, why is he?
Yeah, right. If they didn't see the first shot, Peeping Dog is his new name. Remember Tim Hartman? We're on the bottom rung. Oh my gosh. So, all right. So, first day, you're getting some stuff to work, but again, you're not the type that just sits over in the corner, observe. They're doing some sparring. Second day, more on the sparring, but basically, it sounds like the overall theme, Kirby Gabong.
Yeah. And let me say one thing, like, and I don't know, like, I don't think it was just a group of people that was there. Like, those guys fight. Like, they live it. They breathe it. I don't know if it's the culture or what it is, but
Is that
those guys.
do you think that's Europe as a whole, or that just that particular area?
I think and I'll say this, when it comes to the Daw brothers, all the Euro Daw brothers that I know, like, those guys go out and they leave marks. Like, it's not there's no verbal communication during fighting. There's no nice shot. There's none of that stuff. But like, I'll say this from my experience with the Finns when I was up there is, like, those guys, they fight. Like, they what's in their blood. Like, they're looking super serious, and like, the odd smile if I do something silly or something, but you could tell that they take this seriously. Like it's go time, right? Like there wasn't anybody there who I'm like, okay, I'm not going to focus any time on that guy because he's just here because he wants an Instagram photo. And a case in point, sometimes I'll do a seminar somewhere and people are taking pictures or people are taking videos or doing that. None of that shit went on. Like the only people, like there's a few pictures that were taken when people are taking a break, but for the most part, people are in 100%.
They're just ready to. They just want to.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and I didn't have to up the intensity at all. Like they were just like,
They were just.
this way, let's try to do this.
Wow.
And so like breaking sticks kind of energy. It was, and I love that stuff, man. Because like I said, when you start communicating with people without talking, and these guys are just like eating up all the little bits of knowledge that I'm dropping in the pool.
Sure.
And the crazy thing to me was I didn't give them that much.
Yeah,
There's seminars sometimes where I'm like, oh shit, what am I going to teach for the next hour? With these guys, it was like they just wanted that little bit and just make it work. So I knew that's when you know you got a good group because they are focused on making that work before they move on.
So now, is it fair to say that they all had a decent base in the minute?
Like for the most part, yes. Like Sammy was there from Finland. He was.
He messaged, yeah. He seems like a good guy.
Yeah, like. But yeah, like I said, man, like they just these cats just wanted to fight, and like it just you could feel it off them, right? Like you could see that because so throughout my seminar, I basically I could feel that energy of like if I don't, if we don't let this energy out, there's gonna be some road rage incidents on the way home, right? Like there's
on the way home, that they don't get out of their system. I mean, like generally speaking, the ages.
Oh man, it's like any other dog other thing, like anywhere from your 20s to your 50s. So, like it's like one of the guys there kind of reminded me of Roger, like Sage Dog, who is retiring this year. He's actually on his way to the gathering in LA right now. 67, he's 67 and he just fought in August and he's fighting again.
How old is he?
67. And let me tell you something. There are people out there who have their age and they spar and and they're still doing it. Good for you. I'm not taking this away from you. But I'll say this, and if Roger's watching, that motherfucker, he will give you the beating of your life. He does not. It's not I'm taking it easy on you, you take it easy on me. That guy fights. He fights.
Where's he from?
The guy who's had like 2 hip replacements. He tore one of his hips out during a match once. Like just crazy. Was never going to walk again. Proved everybody wrong. Started walking again and fought. I don't care if you think it's crazy. That dude he's my monster, right?
I think I heard it. He lives in Canada, correct?
Yeah, he's one of the Ottawa clan.
I didn't know the name. I just remember somebody mentioning him that there was this older guy and had some pretty significant injuries, and it was questionable whether or not he was 67. God bless. Wow.
So one of the guys in Finland reminded me of Roger, like a younger Roger, but same thing, like hip replacement. And it wasn't until after like the seminar where he's like walking around, he's got like an ice pack on his hip and he's like hobbling. I was like, hey man, did you get hurt? And he's like, no, I have a new hip, like just like.
Here's the one thing though, because I had a hip replacement in my left hip, and they have it down to such a science. Honest to God, the recovery time for me, was I was 2 weeks and I was back. The only thing I had to avoid was the grappling, of course, or any takedowns. But it's really not that bad. The recovery from it is really, and if you're in shape and you take care of yourself, it's really not that bad,
Yeah, well,
but to go out,
Well, yeah, the same dude was telling me like he had a car accident or something and he had like a frozen shoulder, like just like all this stuff. But you would never think that by the way they were moving.
No, I mean, yeah.
For the last 7 hours prior to that. Like we're not talking like 2 or 3 hours, we're talking 7 hours of movement.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Right. And top. I mean, wow. We got some more folks jumping in. We got Richard Packman. We got Nicholas. We got Mark. And we got Russ. Yeah. Same here. I know. Replacement. Jeez. So okay. So you went there. Obviously, it sounds like it went really well. They expressing interest, bringing you back, or have they maybe said to you, hey, can you maybe send us stuff to work on till you come back next time? Like, how they leave it with you?
Yes. So actually, Peter from the UK, Polite Dog, he actually just sent me a bunch of information. He asked me a bunch of questions, which I haven't got to yet, about Krabi Growling. A lot of the guys were saying, I hope I see you next time. We've kind of chatted, well, in passing. We've said, maybe we should think about doing this again. Again, I'm open to all of it. Like I was thinking maybe actually just going on vacation with my family and then seeing if doing something down
Yeah,
there.
make it like a kind of two birds, one stone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I'll tell you, man. Like I said, when I came back home and I didn't get home till like 1:30. I think it was like 1:30. And then by the time I got to sleep, it was like 2-ish. And then I woke up and I had to be at a meeting at 6 in the morning. Like I was a zombie. Like, luckily, people don't, like I said, I have like resting murderer face when I'm looking at somebody. So they just didn't ask me too many questions.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
But yeah, I was dead.
I can imagine. Then you got there. So now, is your family okay? Because I mean, they're okay with you going and doing that. I mean, obviously, you're not going abroad every month, but they okay with it?
Yeah, like luckily, like my wife trains as well, and she's fought at a couple gatherings as well. Um, and the reality is, like, I work a lot, and I don't really do a lot of things because I'm kind of a boring person. So when these opportunities come up, because when Finland first came up, I was like, man, I'm like, oh, I just got invited to go teach in Finland. She goes, oh, that's gonna be so awesome. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this, like you're gonna be here. And we have two young kids. We have a 5 and a 7-year-old, right? So it's a lot of work. And she's like, no, you got to do it.
Yeah, I miss the kids. Like I just went to camp. When I go away, and it's just me. I'm not saying I should feel this way or others should feel this way, but I get this guilt feeling. I'm away, they're home, she's dealing with all this, and I'm out here. And, you know what I mean? I try to block it out. And
have you tried whiskey? Whiskey's really good for that.
I have to try that. Yes. Single malt, right?
What am I doing here? Whatever.
Yeah, she's fine.
No, it's actually really strange, because it's like here I am having, like Crystal was an amazing host. Like he gave me the keys to his house, and he actually went to a hotel, which was awesome. Yeah, crazy, right?
Think about that.
So awesome house, got a sauna, and I never use the sauna because I don't want to pass out and not wake up. Yeah, like I was so jet lagged the entire time I was there. But just an awesome place, and I got to see a little bit of like the locals, but I didn't see a lot. And I think that's something I kind of be.
Yeah, you bring the family next time. You can kind of, just tour around, see the countryside, and I think that's a good way to do it. Like next time I go anywhere, I'm going to try to incorporate the family with it.
We were talking about that. I've been invited to fight. Well, probably that too. To teach surf camp in 2024. And because my mom lives in Madrid, it's only like an hour flight from there to Asturias. Then more than likely what I'll do is like either I go early, or we go to Spain and I'll go and teach and I'll come back. To Madrid, and I'll go and teach and I'll come back, or they'll come with me. We haven't figured that part out, but I think I'm just going to bring the family next time because.
Yeah, and then you can take like some time and like go visit and do whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah, if you can do it. And yeah, like when I went to Hawaii to see Burton, I took them, so I wasn't feeling bad. Yeah, but everybody's different. Like, oh, we got here. Some people, I guess, they do, and it's okay. I feel the same way. I don't like leaving them alone. Feels kind of so. Yeah, that's kind of what I go through, and I'm not a selfish person, but it, I get those feelings too. Yeah.
I dig being with my family. Like I really, I
Yeah.
just, and I'm not saying other people don't, but I just, like my kids are feral. I love being around them. They're unpredictable. It's just so much fun. And like we just do a lot of crazy stuff, and it's so much
Yeah.
fun. It's
No,
great.
no. I mean, right. You miss the little ones when you're away. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I
and that was
mean,
like a weird moment, right? Where it's like I'm FaceTiming my kids and like, oh, we miss you. And I'm like, okay, guys, I gotta go.
yeah.
no,
Oh, I'm good.
no, I got punched in the eye.
Yeah, when you're little like that, I used to. I know it's hard, man. Yeah, that's not easy. Okay, hey, what could you? Okay, what good, bad, indifferent, without like, could you tell us your dog brothers compare and contrast to American dog brothers? Is there a difference? And it doesn't have to be good or bad. I mean, is there just a difference?
Yes, absolutely. Um, I think they're a much tighter knit community.
Interesting.
I
Is it
think
because they're closer proximity living among one another, or no?
necessarily. I think they're just a tighter community. It's hard to explain. Like with us here, like some of us go like the stray dog route where we're kind of like we are dog brothers, but we are not really into the whole association thing.
Mm.
And then, but they like for example, when I was in Spain, we're all having dinner, and there was a Euro gathering about to happen. And Benjamin got together with some of the other full dogs, and they're going through a book with people who are showing up at the gathering, and then people they know, they don't know, and actual dog brothers.
Mm.
And the cool thing I thought was like, okay, they're not just going through the book, but they're like, okay, what's this guy like? How many gatherings has he been at? What do you think he should work on? Who should fight him? So they're actually like, looking at how they can structure that guy's path or that gal's path and challenge them. There's no free lunches on this, right? So like
Mm.
they're like, hey, I think this guy would really give him a run for his money. So let's set that up.
Okay.
And then they would look at like he was like chatting about some of the full dogs. I haven't seen this guy in a while. Let's see what this. Let's see how he does this. And I thought that was a pretty awesome way of doing things.
Mm. Yeah,
Like,
they're taking the time to
well,
manage.
it's really organized. Like here in Canada, we have similar things. Like we have a chat room with all the full dogs,
Mm.
and we talk about how can we make this thing grow, or making sure that we stick to the rules that we've self-imposed, right? Like even like the Canadian dog brothers are different from the American dog brothers. Like we've set rules for us to become a dog brother. Like
Okay.
there's rules amongst all the clans. Don't get me wrong, and they're for the most part the same, but we really try to emphasize traveling because pretty much all of us had to travel at one point.
Right.
So
Well, you're probably in Los Angeles, namely, right? I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
hey, listen, man, like um, my first few gatherings, like I was, thank you Visa for taking me there,
Yeah.
and not so much thank you when I got the bill because I had to pay it
Yeah.
off.
When you got when it came in the
But
mail.
that was like if you look at the old guard that way, we all were like that. It's like we can't get that information anywhere else. So what are we going to do? We're going to travel.
Yeah.
Like when I was in 10 years ago, 12 years ago, there was no Krabi Garong in Canada. And
No. Okay. Okay.
the Krabi Garong that I saw wasn't what I was looking for.
Right.
So I went to my source. I went to Arlen and met his instructor and other original members of Budai Swan. And even the Budai Swan that we or I teach, completely different than the stuff that's out there.
Mm.
Um, like I was talking to Steve Wilson about it, and he's like, "Yeah, you're more on the combative side of it, or whatever you want to call it."
Okay.
Is a lot of the stuff is taught is a lot of, and I'm not shitting on those guys because I know those guys and we're friends. But a lot of that stuff is like dancing and the white
So
crew.
you think more the art per se?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've kind of like taken a lot of that stuff and kind of boiled it down and then sprinkle a little collie on it. And
Yeah.
you know, it's
No, I
like
mean, it's, huh.
and then used it to teach and to train to fight with that stuff.
Yeah.
Like actually, some of the drills that I'll do, like a 9 count drill with like the different chambers for Kirby, I'll mix the ones and twos of the forehands and backhands for Kirby, but I'll have one Kirby strike and then one collie strike. So it just mixes it all together. And it's just that way. So I'm just telling my brain not to get into the idea of you're in a whatever, right?
All right. We got a question that came in, and I think it's kind of relevant to this. Let me just back it up. We got Blue Terry's here. Awesome. All right. And it's from Richard Pac-Man. Now let's see what he says here. So, would it be fair to say that it's a future invitation to be a member if one shows up regularly to these gatherings, like an invited audition, just not called that? That's his question.
I don't know. I'll look at it this way, and I may or may not answer your question. If you want to come to an event outside of a tribal where it's literally just full dogs,
Okay.
you are welcome. You register and you show up and you do it. You like it, you come back.
Right. Okay.
I'll tell you, like if I see someone who I like, not just as a person, but as someone who I see potential or what I perceive as being potential, I'll say you should come back.
Okay.
Or hey, I know so and so. Like if I'm telling you I know so and so close to you and you guys should link up, it's because I see it in you, right?
Mm.
And then come back. And the one thing I notice is that when people come out to fight, we notice.
Yeah.
And it's you can call it an invitation or whatever, but for me it's just like I want to see you come back and fight as much as possible because I see that you're either gonna like we have one of our guys, Eric Wong, who's a candidate dog. He's a candidate dog brother. That dude is like a monster. Like he's just terrifying. But I don't think he actually, in the beginning, I don't think he realized how much of a monster he was.
Okay.
And now that he's kind of letting go, it's like, holy shit. Like if I don't start training, that guy's going to destroy me. So, it's like, it's also furthering the group and getting new blood and just getting people that kind of fit in that category of what we're looking for.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we got Buddha. Okay, yeah, Maynard saying the same thing. What he noticed, I've been to Buddha Swan in Thailand. Rene is spot on. What I saw was not combative at all. Okay.
Actually, Maynard, what he needs to do is get his ass back to a gathering.
Okay, Richard. Richard said, "Thank you. It did answer. It did answer. You did answer his question. So
cool.
Yeah. All right.
Now, if I may as well, if
Sure.
I would do a little self promotion, like obviously I'm one of the founding members of Toro Clan. We have a ton of videos on there as well with material. But if you ever, and again, if you ever have any questions or about Kirby Karong or the way I teach it, or if you want to learn some of it, I'll give you the material. Like for me, this is not about money. It's about furthering the art and keeping it alive. So I'd be more than happy to share that with you.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah.
Just the one thing I'll tell you is when you send me a message, it might take me a while to respond just because I'm stupid busy all the time. But it doesn't mean that I'm ignoring you.
Okay. Yeah,
unless then you'll never know.
Okay. In addition to now, you're still teaching actively, right? Are you more private group?
Yeah, I got 2 private groups that I teach, and then I have I teach privately. I guess I I teach people in the basement of my house.
Yes, in the basement.
Or we'll go to a park and stuff and swing swords.
So
Which,
does
it's
he
actually
show
really
up
cool.
in the basement?
That's a great pick. Yeah, it looks like a.
So back to the private groups. Are they, 4 to 6? I mean, like how many are in the private groups as well?
So one of the groups I teach out of Toronto, there's like 8 guys in total,
No, it's good. Oh, okay.
but
Yeah,
they don't always show up at the same time.
gotcha.
But they have a core set of guys, and they are specific about. I want to have, I've even said, hey, I'm going to bring one of my guys. Like, we really want to keep it to our guys. So, hey, you're paying me. So, yeah, why not?
Okay.
Then occasionally some of my former students from other schools will call me up and do privates. One of the guys who's well on his way in Montreal, like, it kind of blows my mind that some dude from Montreal comes down and wants to train. So Sam came out a couple times. They're training together. That dude is a monster. He's a future monster for sure.
Yeah.
He trains with Pirate Dog as well and Chopstick out in Montreal, and they all get together with the Ottawa clans as well. But those guys are all like, that's like a monster factory. I love it.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about those guys. Okay, so how do you? Okay, when you got students coming into you, and if they appear maybe nervous or a little apprehensive, how do you introduce sparring with them?
Put this on.
Yeah, incidentally.
I kid you not. I am I am I really don't care how they feel about that. It just they see class, they know what's about to happen, and I have my versions of teaching, and I don't care if people think it's right or not. That's the way I do it. Some people are like, oh, you have to train with me for 6 months before you teach this or learn this, and I think that's a big load of bullshit. I look at this not just I like to train in the adrenal state, which allows me to react differently when it comes to any other kind of fighting. And if I were to look at this as a self-defense scenario, you want me to wait 7 classes before you can defend yourself?
Yeah.
Or at least get this. This for me, the big thing too is getting your head right, right? So I'm not saying I kill them, but I definitely don't make them comfortable. And I even say that in the seminars. Like, my goal is not to make you comfortable. Like, comfortable is bullshit. It's I'm not here to make you feel good about yourself. Like when the people I used to train with, I used to go home and just say, man, I suck. It's like, what the fuck? I'd be so pissed off. But I was pushed to get better, right? And that's how I know people really want it. And I think I mentioned this to you in another podcast once, or maybe when we were chatting about it. I had a student once, like, that student had been with me for 4 months. So there's no surprise of how my classes are run. And, the person came up to me and said, I just want to let you know it was my last class.
You did, that was the last episode.
I was like, oh, I'm sorry, are you moving or something? And they were like, no, I just don't like the aggression. And I literally said, then why are you here?
Yeah.
Like, just pack your shit and leave.
Yeah, like, why are you doing the last class?
Like, there's no cake at the end of this class if it's your last one. You're not getting a cupcake or a T-shirt, like, get lost.
Yeah.
And I may have said, maybe I didn't say get lost. But, they were upset. But it's like, why are you wasting my time? Like, I have a day job, like this. I don't need to beg you.
Yeah, right. You're not doing this for your sole income.
Yeah.
And right. Exactly. If he's already made the decision to not come, you're like, why do you come
I think
back?
they were expecting me to say, like, oh, please, you don't want to train here, go. Like,
Yeah.
I encourage people to train with other people, and I encourage people to go out there and check as much stuff out as they can. But I also tell people, like, right off the bat, like, don't look at me for pity, because I'm not that person.
Yeah.
I lack that empathy when it comes to training. Like, there's been times where my wife should come to class, she'd be like, oh, we should talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, you might want to be. So Rich Parsons agreed with you though. So, okay. Rather hear aggression in the classroom. Richard Packman. Yeah. I don't like the aggression. Rather have the aggression in the classroom and be ready for the real world and get caught off guard with aggression and not know how to deal with it. Yeah, can't argue that.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know.
Still saying good morning, Phil.
I've seen a bunch of, when I was teaching at one of the bigger schools, and they would have like guest instructors from different systems and whatnot, and they were doing this like, this is how you disable a man, and you touch him on the cheek and on the ear, and if you put your hand in his pocket, he'll pass out. And you sit there, and it's like, unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, I grew up around a lot of violence, so when I see stuff like that, it just pisses me off, right? It's just like, what kind of regurgitated bullshit is that? Like, who in their right mind has taught you this?
Yeah, I know guys are looking for the. Yeah, I can't explain it. I don't know.
As much, and I've said this before, and please, Piper people, don't stab me. A lot of that Piper stuff is really dark, but it's goddamn real, right? Like, it's like, this is what's going to happen. Yeah.
It is dark. You know what? And so one of the things about that is I check with my students all the time. Say, hey, look, just make sure you're okay. You know what I mean? Because you're 100% right. It's there's an absolute darkness to it. Yeah.
But it's real. That's the thing, right? Like, there are artists that teach reality. Like when you're boxing with people, it's reality. If your boxing game sucks, you're gonna get punched. If your grappling game sucks, you're gonna get tapped out. If you're not practicing your stick shit, you're gonna get hit. That's
right. No.
So, and whatever other arts out there that do practice full contact or whatever. I'd rather go home, and lick my wounds, realizing that there's a hole in my game, than to go home. I'm not going to mention the art that this person was taking, but they were telling me how they learned how to disarm knives and so on and so forth. And I sit there and I nod. I'm like, you're going to die.
On the methodology that you are using right now, you will die.
Yeah, I have a knife and I'm attacking you.
Yeah.
No, you won't.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. That's the whole knife defense world. I mean, that's a whole nother. Yeah.
Right. So you go to gun, right? Like, it's the same thing. How many times have you seen people who have had zero firearms training whatsoever teaching gun disarms? I've never shot a gun before, teaching gun disarms.
Teaching, yeah. That's why I stay away from guns, period. Because I don't what's your point? I don't shoot them. So what business do I have to tell you, how you should be? I just reference them to other people. But
I dealt with that I was at the range that I belong to, and I got a few friends of mine who are in different military groups, and I was talking to one of the guys, and as you get to know them, I kind of ask them, what kind of training you guys do, and one of the guys was telling me about this burnout drill that he does. He puts a pie plate up and he sends it down range, and he snaps his pistol out, just shoots and tries to hit the pie plate. It's not about grouping, it's just you want to hit center mass. And so I was at my range and I was practicing this, and this dude who does like the IPSC competitions, like the shooting competitions, he walks up, he goes, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm just practicing, getting on target. And he just started giving me this big spiel on, how my pinky's not the right way. And he's got the, he's got the competition belt with the, the $400 glasses. I'm wearing like safety glasses from the Home Depot. Right?
Plastic.
Yeah. And I'm listening to him and I'm being polite. And I said, what do you do for a living? And he's like, oh, I'm a computer, whatever. And I'm like, you should keep doing that. And I just kept, went back to what I was doing that. And because I was getting ticked off. I'm like, here's a guy who's a combat veteran telling me what I should be working on. And here's this guy correcting me. He just felt he had to be that guy, right? And I wanted to hear what he had to say at first. And listen, those competition shooters, amazing. I can't do it. I don't have the money to. I'm lazy and not my thing. But if I know someone who's been in combat is doing something, or this is the way they train, I'm gonna probably listen to that guy.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was my rant.
No. Okay. If you okay. You touched I thought it was really interesting. You touched upon this in the test run. And maybe you could speak more on it, or those who maybe didn't catch the test run, how you introduce rattan first, then the padded. I thought that was pretty profound.
Yeah, it's something I learned a long time ago. You know, it's like I was saying before, like you give someone a soft stick and in their head, it's like it's soft, right? So if they accidentally tee off on you, it's a soft stick. But, you know, like I said before, I know a lot of people have been injured by soft sticks, and I've accidentally may have knocked a couple people out with a soft stick. So what I like to do is, because I usually, in the beginning of my classes, we do our warm-ups and our drills, real sticks, you get hit, you get whacked, and then some light, well, again, I like to say light sparring, but it doesn't usually work out that way. Or even just a little bit of sparring to get moving. And I found that as soon as people start seeing that stick and they get hit with it a couple times, like a wrap across the knuckles, or that first time you get hit in the elbow or the bicep, or God forbid the ribs, you can see that I don't want to get hit by this. And they develop that respect for keeping that distance and moving out. Like you're either gonna clinch in or stay the fuck out. And if you stay the fuck out, then you learn your game or whatever. And so when you bring the soft stick in, the people who get it will keep that same mentality. If I'm in a group of people and I do that and they go back to reverting to I can leave my jaw open or my head open, then we go back to the real sticks.
You're right. I think it's great that you do. I think that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean,
it's the same with the training knives. Like even though I'm not a big knife person, or let me rephrase that, I'm not a big teaching knife to people kind of guy. Aluminum is the way to go, or a pointy wooden one. Like listen, like people are like, oh, you could lose an eye. Then wear goggles, like.
People don't understand. Aluminum will leave marks on you for months.
I got a stab in my right shoulder where the aluminum dagger. It was one of the ones that had little holes and it gets pointy, but it's still kind of blunt. I had one of those go into my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I was at a gathering where a dude got stabbed in the armpit. There's a video out there somewhere where he just missed like an artery in his armpit. So again, stupid, whatever, but definitely makes you move.
Yeah, I mean, when aluminum comes out, I'm gonna tell you, yeah, I mean, I have Mark. I mean, yeah, it's not pleasant. Yeah.
I actually did a knife seminar with 3 other instructors once, and the entire thing, like they were teaching stabbing and angles and everything else, and for me, for the most part, it was just having a normal conversation, trying to pull that knife out and try to touch the person in front of you, and it just basically just getting you to react, getting you to. And it's the same thing for me, which I equate to stick fighting or boxing. It's just like, I want to get that, crossing the street, car coming at you. I don't want to stop and smile and look at the car because that's not going to stop it.
Yeah.
I gotta get this thing to tell my body, or I gotta have the muscle memory to get the fuck out of the way, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, 100%. We got Craig Mason.
That guy's all right.
Yeah, I know. He's like Tim. He's like Tim Hartman's father, and
he's got some weird lighting issues at his house. That podcast, it actually kind of frightened me.
Is it Tim? Yeah.
And it's like it puts the lotion on the body,
or it gets the hose. There's frightening things about Tim in that room and that lighting and stuff that goes on in that room. And the bottle.
Ever notice when he says, "I have to go for a minute," his eyes get real big.
Yeah, I know.
It's like I gotta mute this. This.
Aluminum sharp. Yeah, definitely not, Rich. And we got Paul and Rich is saying hi to Craig. All right. Okay. Your next question. I'm sorry. Anything more on the wood versus padded? I'm sorry.
No, not really. Like, I
I think it's great. I
I
think
think
that like if that doesn't instill them respect for range and all that, I mean, yeah, I think
like I'm
that's
going to teach you how to drive in the snow, but it's dead summer, right? No, you gotta
you got to get out there and actually
you gotta
drive.
get out there and you do it. Like
Yeah.
it definitely makes a difference. Like again, I don't care if people don't like it or if it's think it's dangerous or whatever. Um, I don't care if it bruises your ego. Like just do it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Okay, next question. How would you fight yourself?
I don't know. Show me my Visa bill or something. Um, that's it depends. My younger self or myself right now.
Let's look at both. Let's look at both.
I think my younger self, because I wasn't really doing a lot of Kirby, I think I would probably get the upper hand. Although when I was younger, I was a lot more aggressive. And
More willing to take chances, you
I
mean?
was willing to lead with my face. Uh,
This face here?
yeah, that one there.
I'm just gonna drive my car, and he's gonna be sitting in the passenger seat.
Oh, you can use the the HOV lanes, right? It's kind of a weird question. I think it would just it would probably disintegrate into like just a ridiculous brawl of some kind.
Yeah.
But with the older me saying, okay, that's good.
That's good. All right, good. I gotta go to work tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing. I think
You know what? I've never asked this question to somebody.
But I'll tell you one thing. I think I fight myself pretty much every time I go and fight because my head plays games with me, right? Like I remember the last few gatherings I went to, like all of a sudden, like aches and pains that have been gone for years are coming back, and then that thing in the back of your head is like, you sure you want to do this?
That's
Like,
that's not a good question. How much longer do you think you will be doing this?
Man, Roger just stopped at 67. I don't know. I think there's been a few times where I almost quit. Like when I snapped my arm, that really made me rethink everything. Because I was in like a Napoleon cast for a while, and like the tendons of my arms got really stiff. And one night I heard this pop and ended up in the hospital again, like 3 o'clock in the morning. They're tearing the cast off, trying to figure out if I snapped the tendon. Then the atrophy. My arm looked like I could pick a lock with it. It was just insane. And then I got into this weird thing. My dad just did the same thing. One day I just got crazy with the arm itching, and I took like a dovetail saw, and I'm in a mirror just cutting my cast off, just because I couldn't handle it. And then 3 days later I'm back at the hospital because the fracture cracked again and all that.
Oh man.
And I've retired many times already.
I did. Okay. I didn't
No,
know.
you know what it is? It's not a retirement as much as it is. So people stop asking me. I just do it when I want to now.
Yeah, it's not like you have anything else to prove. I bet you just do when you want to. Okay.
But I'll tell you one thing. You go to a gathering, and I don't give a shit if you're retired. I don't care if you've been doing it for, you did it 20 years ago. You sit there and you watch the guys fight, and that furnace kicks on full gear. And like this is going back. God, when was it? It is going back quite a while, and I think it's just after a friend of ours died. And I was at a gathering, had no intentions of fighting. I had like a cracked rib, and I was watching the guys line up, and one guy said to the other, "It's like, hey, let's take it easy or whatever." And I was like, "You're at a fucking gathering. If you want to take it easy, go to beat the crap out of cancer. Otherwise, you're here to fight." And like next thing I know, I'm looking for gear. Just like I just got this like it just something took over, right? It's just like I don't give a shit. And then I fought, like my wife was there and a woman beside her, and she's like, "Who's that guy? It looks like he's a caged animal." She's like, "That's my husband." And there's a picture of me holding my daughter, and she's like only like a year. My nose completely busted, and I'm like smile from ear to ear. And I wasn't gonna fight.
Right, right.
So when will
Yes.
I actually stop? I think once I can't give once I feel that I can't give the person the best of me, or at least a test for themselves, I
Hmm.
think that's the time is to pack it up. But I'll pack it up as a uh, the fighting aspect, but I will not pack it up as in I'm gonna go walk out into the sunset, right? Like
No, you'll be a coaching still
my
until.
job will, I think that's the goal and something I tell to a lot of the guys who talk about, I'm gonna retire.
Yeah.
That's our job is to keep the next generations,
Yeah,
going, right?
I
And
think
you
so.
got to think a lot of a lot of the Canucks we're getting on, right? Like we were like Philip, I think it was just pre-COVID he fought, and he's in his late 60s. Um, you know, a lot of the guys are still doing it, and when I say like fight, I mean fight. Like I don't mean like, hey, the old guys out there, let's take it easy on them. Like I broke my stick on Roger's head. Like I like it was full on. It was actually a tribute fight because his mom had passed on, and we both had broken hands, and we taped the sticks to our hands so we could fight. And like that didn't last very long, but it was like a brawl. And afterwards, it was like such a beautiful thing, right?
Jeez,
But
that's
that dude, like again, I'm going back to him. Like that guy is fucking awesome. But
sounds it.
retirement, I don't know. One day, I guess. But
Yeah.
you know what's funny is every time I think like, I've done enough of this or whatever. Like the other day when my kids pick up a stick, because I don't push martial arts on my kids at all. It's to me, it's like I know the second I'm going to push them on this, they're going to say no way.
I'm the
But
same way. Yeah.
my kids, and true to my word, I let my kids have real sticks, and I'll have a soft stick because again, they're 5 and 7, right? So I don't want to push it too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're getting into it. The more they get into it, the more it lights my fire. Or people like Sam,
Yeah, when you're seeing them doing it. Yeah,
he says,
absolutely.
"Hey, I'm coming from Montreal to train with you." It's like, you know, I don't want to be that dickhead who's like 500 pounds and on his phone texting with a cigarette in my mouth saying, "All right, let me teach you how to stick fight."
Yeah.
Then that's just bullshit. So it's people like him that say they want to train that really fires up the engine to keep going, right?
It's awesome. We got some questions here. Okay. These are from Phil. What would you say has changed for you in your experience of training over the years with the use of sticks and open drills?
I don't know how much has changed for me, but what I've noticed is my observation is how more and more people are gravitating to, what their version of full contact is, right? Um, so I think maybe more of an open mind has changed. Uh,
Hmm. Mhm.
and I guess maybe for me what's changed is I really got out of I really got out of the mindset of I'm fighting a Filipino martial arts style, now I just think I'm in a fight. Like that's it. You
Okay.
know, like I don't, and a lot of it is just a mishmash of stuff and just let's put it all in the blender, get out there and do it. Before I think I
Yeah.
was really focused on making sure my angles are nice and clean and that my footwork and triangles are nice and clean. Now I just don't care. I literally don't care.
Okay.
I
Yeah, it comes on age maturity and
but
uh,
I think what I've noticed recently is people's willingness to um, say, okay, no one's died. Well, um, no one's gotten severely injured from this. Maybe it's time that we did it, or we do our version of it.
hmm,
And then eventually, I found a lot of those people will seek somebody else been doing it for a while and say, hey, come into the fold, right?
okay.
But I've also noticed a lot of the opposite side of that is like I've seen a lot of people who don't want to do what we do, but they want to call it that. So they'll shit on the Dog Brothers saying, "Oh, it's not. It's just whatever." And
Yeah, I
My
don't understand
my
that.
instructor did that back in the Philippines,
I know, I
and we
know.
did this. It's like, listen, man, like I don't want to. I try to be nice and not get into the political thing, but like honestly, it's bullshit. Like stop.
Yeah.
Or there's a comment that was made last week about well, some guys will just crash and bash because they're grapplers, and it's like, yeah, and guess what? You got to deal with that.
Yeah, they're coming on a roof block and they're going to
Yep.
double leg you. I mean,
Or you drop your stick and you run head first and you try and tackle me. I'm not going to grapple you. I'm not saying I don't grapple. That's just not my thing.
hmm.
So I got to learn to deal with something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, no, no. I mean, those are, yeah. I mean,
So
All right. He's got a question too here. What is your favorite open hands or weapons drills?
my favorite open hand drill.
correct.
Well, actually, what I really like, what I've been playing with a lot lately, and whenever I have a seminar, I find someone who likes to do like Hubud and see how
Okay.
I see how they do it,
How they apply it and
how
their
they apply
structure
it.
and
Like,
their,
are
okay.
they passing their center line? Are they actually trying to cut that line? And when I was in Finland, I actually had a chance to play with Sammy, and for me, Hubud is not a hey, how's your day today? Is everything
Yeah,
okay?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
for me, it's really trying to punch you and throw you around,
That
try to get.
forward pressure.
Oh,
Yeah.
if I can get my hands on your neck, I will choke you. I know it's ridiculous, or uh, and again, honestly, that picture is kind of weird, man. It looks like I'm going to a proctology exam or something. But so I was playing with Sammy, and that dude's game is tight because I was trying to bully him.
Nice.
I was really trying
Yeah.
to bully him, and he's smaller than I am. Definitely a
Yeah. Yeah.
strong guy. And he was keeping up. And then I started throwing some different angles and whatnot, and he started feeding it to me, and I was like, okay, this is good.
Oh,
So
nice.
I like any kind of exchange where it's not comfortable.
Mm.
There's a game I like to play is like Caveman Hubut, where it's just like I throw a punch, you stop it however you want, and then you throw a punch. So it's like one for one.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll throw an elbow or whatever I want. Sometimes I'll just skip the parry and I'll just go for a punch or a kick. And it's really fast, high energy, and if you zig instead of zag, you get your nose broken. Uh, that appeals to me. And again, I don't want to sound like some crazy psychopath. It's just that kind of shit appeals to me. I
Mm.
like things that make me uncomfortable, and I like when there's energy involved.
Yeah.
I've been to some seminars, and if I started seeing that this is like not my thing, I'll excuse myself or I'll sit down for a minute because I remember I was at a Gahe seminar and he was talking about a tangent about the Philippines, and my wife had to wake me up because I passed out.
Oh, no.
No, here's GT talking about Philippines and this, that, and the other. In the background, you hear.
That's,
So
man.
and yeah, I wasn't trying to be disrespectful, but I guess I was. But for me, like I said, I like to train like I teach, like I fight, and then I just want to have lots of energy. I want to burn out quick, so that way I think when people are tired, they learn better or they retain
Mm.
things and they become much more efficient. So that's kind of that's my game. I hope that
Yeah.
makes sense.
No,
To
no. Yeah. You answered it. Let me see. Oh, Francisco. He's a great guy. Okay. Let's see what he's saying here.
Good evening. Ever reconsider the live on both Facebook and YouTube? It's hard to pretend one is working when your phone. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Yes, I have. And you know what happened was, Francisco, I actually just forgot about it. But yes, I should be putting it on YouTube as well. I'm gonna start trying to do that. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks.
okay, here we go. If you have the time or the interest, what other systems don't necessarily have to be FMA, but let's start with FMA first, or any weapons-based system. Let's go with that. Would you like to investigate?
Oh man, that's a good one. I think I've done quite a few, and I've been to quite a few seminars here and there. Um, I'd say most of it I enjoyed. Some of it was a bit much, but I'm kind of open that way. Like
Hmm.
I've been checking out like my one of my brothers, like Thomas Holtman. He's been doing a lot of the like HEMA type stuff,
Okay.
and those guys are hitting each other with axes. I don't know what it is about that. It kind of appeals to me. I think it.
You're a primal, man.
Yeah, it's. Oh yeah, that's. I what I love about that. It just kind of reminds me. Remember, there was like that tomahawk phase that everybody went through,
Yeah.
and everybody's doing. It's like, oh, so then you hook the guy with the tomahawk. Like, that's a piece of metal that's sharp. It's just gonna, like, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
to me, these are just like hammers. You bury it. If it comes loose, you use it again. If not,
It just was for the money. We're gonna create drills out of this, and you guys are gonna look aesthetically pleasing. And it's like what happened to the karambit. Look how bastardized that weapon got. I mean, come on, you know.
yeah.
And the
Well,
tomahawk followed. The tomahawk followed after that. You know.
yeah, yeah. But I think I don't know. I've given myself permission to be as honest as I want to with everything that I train in. So if I don't like something, I'll politely leave. But if you ask me if I liked it, I'll tell you what I actually thought. And
Yeah.
it doesn't leave. Sometimes people get pissed off about it, but it's like, hey, it's like I just say, hey, like it's not my thing. Like I was at a seminar once, and this dude from a system was basically saying, as you chamber, you want to put that hand forward before you hit. And then in my head, I was like, you put your hand forward in front of the people that I know, and you won't be dialing a phone for a while. And it was just this weird kind of like, he was trying to speak about how you chamber or change your energy for that hit. And, as I was leaving and I thanked him for the seminar and he said, what'd you think? I said, I was pretty good until that hand thing. And, it turned into like, well, let me show you and come here. And it's like, no, I'm going to leave now.
Yeah.
Because that's going to happen, right? It's going to be an escalation that I don't want to be a part of.
Right. Yeah. You're better off just like you did, just leave.
Oh, it's like that grappling seminar I went to, and I didn't know who the instructor was because I'd never met him. Just a friend of mine was hosting this guy, and I won't mention his name because it was actually too funny, and he might get pissed off. But so I had a knife in my pocket, and this guy was like, "Oh, I heard of those Dog Brother guys," and he's like, "Oh, what's in your pocket?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's my knife," and I handed it to him. And he opens it. He goes, "So what are you gonna do now?" And I pulled up my other knife.
This is what I'm gonna do now.
And I was laughing, and I slap him on the back. So he like hands me my blade back, and we get ready. And he gets up, and he goes to teach. And I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah. Oh, that was a teacher. Oh my God.
Okay, making friends. So
making friends.
yeah, that's I don't know. Like for me, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there which is kind of on the hokier side, which I'm trying to avoid. But if I get invited out, I'll go check it out. I'm not
Yeah, I mean, it can't hurt, right?
I'm not that important, right?
No, I mean,
But again, like if you're gonna ask me to start channeling my inner chi and all that other stuff, I more than likely will decline.
okay. No. Sammy, speak of which, or who, Lemon Steel. What's that about?
So you may have heard that I like to pull pranks on people.
No, never.
So I was using an aluminum sword, and I'm like, man, I like these. This lemon steel is really hard. And one of the guys that was training, he was because I kept saying lemon steel. I was really selling it, right? He goes, well, what's lemon steel? I go, well, it actually smells like lemons. You just got to rub the sword, and then when you smell it, it smells like lemons. So here's this grown man, and he's got this sword, and he's going like this.
Oh my God!
And I'm just dying in the background, and then he politely gives me the sword back and says, "You're an asshole."
Oh, by the way.
Yeah, and did I mention this happened during the seminar? So there's a bunch of people there and stuff. So
oh my God!
it goes back, It's like, you remember the Inosanto apple story I told you?
I remember an Apple story. You're gonna have to
So
probably tell me again. Okay.
it'll be real quick. So I was at an Inosanto seminar, and we all break for lunch. The guy has never been to an Inosanto seminar. He's kind of like starstruck a little bit,
Mm.
and he's like, we're all talking, and I said, okay. I turned to the guy beside me, like, so what kind of fruit did you bring? And the guy looks at me. He's like, "Oh, I bought some melons." And what about you? He's like, "I got mangoes." I'm like, "Shit, I was gonna get mangoes." And so here's this guy. He's like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "Well, the last day of the seminar, it's Filipino custom that we all bring Guru Dan some fruit."
Okay. Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah. So the last day, everybody's wrapping up, and here comes this guy with like a bushel of apples, and he
Oh
like
yeah.
literally like,
Oh no.
holding it like Simba, right? Just like slowly crawling up to him, and he's like, "This is for you and your journey."
Dan must have been like,
And Guru Dan's like looking at him, he's like, "Thanks."
yeah, okay.
And he turns around and nobody's got fruit. Here's this guy with a bush, and then, like Guru Dan's like handing him out, and I was in the corner just doubled over laughing, and the guy was like kind of embarrassed and just walks up. He goes, "You're a fucking asshole." I was like, "Yes, of course."
And you're like, I know.
But it was like for years, we just bring that story up, and he would just turn beet red. It was such a beautiful thing.
Man, that's funny. Okay, this came in on the flyer posted in FMA discussion. It was from Jack Lee. Most important dog brothers gathering one fights in.
Everyone that you show up at.
Here's some of the answers that came in on that. I don't know if you saw them or not. One was the first one. I think that was one of the answers. One was, I think, maybe when you.
Thomas said when you become a full dog brother.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. For me, it's just I learned that every single one of them. Like, there's definitely special ones when you first start ascending, right? And then it's just like, but if you're doing this just to get a dog name, like, just give yourself one. It's just call yourself whatever the fuck you want, Martini dog, or whatever.
FMA dog.
Yeah, exactly. Just tell your friends to call you that, and tell people it's your nickname, because it's so much easier than going through what we went through. And yeah, like for me, it's every gathering is special because it's I get to see my friends again. I get to like just have this like profound self realization of where I'm at with my training, or like I don't want to sound too hokey, but there's times where like after a gathering where I just sit down and just like all the emotions kind of hit you about what just happened, right?
Yeah.
And if people are missing that, then they're not fighting hard enough. It's just like you survived that car crash. Like you put everything on the line. Like my buddy Brett, Gray Dog, like that's the dude who originally, and I mean, he doesn't count knife fights or sword fights. He only counts stick fights as fights, which is the way I look at it as well. And I've seen that guy fight 10 times, like literally dislocated his shoulder, like just pushed right to the edge of where he could literally not go anymore. And he's dealing with some injuries, and like even when I've spoken to him, it's like, "Hey, are you gonna fight this year?" And he's like, "No, I'm done." I'm like, "What the fuck you mean?" He's like, "I can't give people the best of me, so what's the point?" So like that to me is the essence of what a dog brother is. People like Roger, people who are willing to, through injury, go out there, and really, it's not about like. It's hard to explain to people. I've fought with broken fingers. I fought with a broken arm. I fought with things that I shouldn't have been on those mats at all. But I had to do it for myself because it's part of that. Man, it's like unless you actually go through it, I just can't explain what it's like. Let's just say that it changed my life, right?
Yeah, I know. You mentioned that before in episode 355.
Yeah, and for $9.95, I'll tell you the secret of how it actually
Yeah,
is.
for 995, 1-800-444.
Send money to Dean Blinds.
Yes, that's going to go to the GoFundMe. I got to patch you all up in Vancouver. Some fun injuries I've seen. That's Trisha. All right. And then we got Pat saying, well, if that's the case, next time when we meet, you can call me Grumpy Dog if it feels right. And we got Rich, French Poodle.
Yeah, it's you know, I always tell people like it's just easier to give yourself, you know, that moniker and do it yourself than to go through this. And like I always tell people that especially the second, third, fourth generation, the Daw brothers, like, and I'm not saying the first didn't. So I'm just saying like the guys who had to go through the ascension process.
Hmm.
Like, if you want to piss people off, you know, call yourself something that you're not. Especially
Yeah,
my group, because we have worked hard for what we have. You know, we
absolutely.
work
Yeah, no.
it's the blood, sweat, and it's, you know, it's like oh yeah, my friend does BJJ. He got his black belt in 2 years. You know, then an actual BJJ black belt was taking 10 years of his life
Like
to
10 years, right?
yeah,
10 years. Yeah, yeah.
like that's they'll twist you up, right?
Yeah, yeah. They're not gonna like that. No, 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 no. Yeah. What changes would you like to see in our overall wonderful FMA community?
Oh man, you know. There's so many cool things that I see that are the art side of it.
Mm,
But I'd like to make sure that people remember that art doesn't really translate to reality.
mm.
So if people have the ability to, or you know, like, and just get over yourselves, you know, like, and I say that from all the groups I belong to and I've been kicked out of. It's just,
Now, they're no longer part of.
and there are a
Wait,
few,
did you
you
get
know,
kicked
like,
out or did he get kicked out?
I know, like, especially, you know, like Christ, like, you know, some of the groups I got kicked out of, like, literally, you know, death threats and the whole thing else, just because you know, I tend to speak my mind about that, which I think we touched on a while back. But
Episode
um,
355. Yes.
it's, I think we'll get a lot further if we all get together instead of start saying how better we are than each other. That's the big thing.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think it doesn't have to be a gathering, but just, you know, like I beat the crap out of cancer. Like, you know, the first
Mm,
time I met Craig Mason was that I beat the crap out of cancer in 2008.
mm,
You know, and he was doing like the whole recap thing, and he had the kimono and the helmet and everything else. And as the day progressed, that dude was wearing a fencing mask and no other equipment. You
nice.
know, like
Yeah,
what an amazing exchange of, you know, combat thoughts, right?
yeah, going from weak. Right, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
So
agree with you.
that's
Just
the one thing I'd love to see, and just again, and I think when it comes to like students and whatnot, like really research the people that you want to train with.
seek out our teachers, right? Get some back.
Yeah, man, I see a lot of craziness out there, man, and it just blows my mind. Like, you know, you start doing some research on some of the people that are out there, and people who are self-promoted, like but I mean self-promoted by rank.
Yeah,
And, you know, a lot of people nowadays, I guess, don't put as much emphasis on rank as before, but to me, it's still very important, like lineage and stuff like that. I'm not saying
lineage.
train with
Yeah.
other people, train with everybody you want, train right across the board, but just make sure that the guy you train with is not a goof, right?
Mm. Yeah,
That's,
no, well said. Yeah, especially on the part you're talking about, folks getting together, and like you said, it doesn't have to be a gathering, but regardless of what style you are, though, just people getting together, friendly exchanges, and that
it's
would be.
hard, right? I think especially when it comes to money, because it's a small piece of pie. Everybody thinks that, you know, there's so much money in martial arts. Like,
Yeah,
I think even with all the seminars I've taught over the years and everything in privates, I still don't think I've even come close to paying off any of the money that I've actually spent in training.
On the training, yeah, I know, yeah.
And and there's a lot of shit talking amongst each other, right? It's just like, who cares? Just like get together.
Yeah, that's the one. I mean, one thing about social media, internet, the guy can sit behind the screen and do and say whatever he wants with no accountability, So
Yeah, that's a hard one for me still. I try to be cool about it, but there's times where I sit there and I'm like, man, just shut your mouth.
yeah,
Especially when they start talking about my group of friends, like my brothers and sisters and whatnot. And it's like I remember there was a guy once who was like, I was teaching a seminar in New York, and this dude had actually, I think it was Jack Lee that had posted it on the Stick Grappler website or the Facebook page about me going to New York. And this dude jumped in, is like, Kirby Growling is a dead art and nobody knows it, and so on and so forth. And I asked him why he thought that. He's like, I've been a Muay Thai champion, and I never heard of this, and nobody heard about this in Thailand, and it just went on and on and on. Yet this guy teaches the gladiatorial arts of the Roman soldiers or some bullshit like that. And at one point, I got Rene-ish about it. I'm like, if you don't believe that what I do is real, meet me. I'm going to be in your neck of the woods. Like,
yeah,
come out
right.
and do your thing. And it never happened, right? And I'm not saying that people don't show up to fight, because they do. But, this guy was just like absolute talking shit. It drove me bananas. And even like, a Stick Rapper was like apologizing for the guy. It's like, the guy's just a goof.
Yeah, it's not his fault. I mean, right. Yeah, folks like that are just, I don't know. All right. Art doesn't translate into reality. It's an astounding how much do not realize this. Yeah.
Who was that?
Pat was saying that art doesn't translate to reality. It's astounding how many don't realize this. Yeah.
Hey, listen, try putting socks on a baby and then tell me if it's possible to do a knife disarm. It's insane.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
If you, I look at one of the things that I do, and it just because of the way my mind thinks, especially when I was looking at some of the Piper stuff, I was looking at videos of knife attacks. And having been stabbed twice, and both times not seeing that it happened. Yeah. It's like, tell me that the stuff that you're teaching will stop something like that.
No, it's hard. And so what I give is, matter of fact, when I met with Kevin Goat last weekend, one of the things that we were working together is that, you're going from it's freaking in you, like a couple, and now you got like, I mean, yeah, it's 100%. It's assuming you're seeing it coming out and you're seeing the wrist to elbow, the 12 inches coming at you. Sure, perception and reaction, your cell preservation of center of mass, yada yada and so forth. But assuming you turn around a corner, boom, it's in. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you.
And like the psychological aspect of it too. Like again, I'm not glorifying this. It's literally just for story's sake. When I got stabbed, I had no idea.
No, I remember you were telling me, right? And most, they didn't see it, right? Exactly.
No,
yeah.
And it was my team member who was holding onto my arm and screaming at me, and I was like, Dwayne, I'm right beside you. There's no need to scream. Like I had my radio in, and I was like, I can hear you.
Yeah.
And he kept screaming and screaming, and then I see the blood bubbling between his fingers, and that's when I passed out. Because I saw my elbow joint, and I realized, I've been stabbed.
Yeah.
And there was no cool guy like, let's get some matches and set this thing on fire.
No,
it was just like,
so yeah, it's terrifying. I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's like when you look at systems like Piper, of course, where you're dealing with sensory overload or distraction, and then here comes behind it. It's terrifying. Yeah, absolutely. Terrifying.
It was actually when I started after my first Piper seminar, before I was kicked out of a system that I don't belong to. It was funny because I started really applying that system overload to my training, where I just overwhelm people to the point where their brain has to react.
It shuts right. It's overwhelmed.
You shut it off or you react to it.
Yeah.
That's what Piper does. I mean, yeah, it's like, whether they're, coming in like this and coming behind you, or they're coming in, with one of the major twirl. I mean, whatever it is, but you're seeing this just flash. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah. There's a Hollywood fantasy about a lot of that stuff too, though, right? Like, and that's especially when it comes to knife training and stuff like that, where I had a student once that went to California, was at a seminar, and then when he came back, he comes back with a certificate, and it's like certified to teach knife and whatever tactics to law enforcement and whatever else. And he literally tore it in front of me. It's like, this is nonsense. It was only there for like 8 hours.
Yeah. Where that started? That started in California, the weekend seminars. And we'll leave that at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. If it's the same camp we're talking about, I've received some hate mail from them in the past.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that camp, yeah, unfortunately. Well, so what do you got, immediate future plans? What's coming down the pipeline?
Oh God. So I got a bunch of seminars I'm working on. I'm doing a virtual MySock seminar.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've had some people reach out to teach that, like, at their schools and whatnot. So I'm working on that as well. Big thing for me is just scheduling. So I don't want to turn this into, I'm going to be traveling 52 weeks a year. Not that I'm that popular anyways, but
Yeah.
I'm very selective on that kind of time. As mentioned before, I'm working on one with Mark Medeiros as well. So he's been working on some ground grappling stick stuff, which I really, really like. And I was working on some getting back up kind of stuff. And so the seminar is going to be more like putting people down, keep them down. If they try to get up, don't let them get up. Right. Okay. So that's in the works right now. So we're working on that. Again, I've been invited to go to different countries as well. Like, I am going back to Spain. That's a definite. And hopefully then I'll get the bee sting, which I never got. And then again, I've been invited to other countries, but until it's solid, I just don't even want to talk about it, because it's like,
I think it's great though.
It's it's the same thing I say whenever I people say I want to train with you. You can tell me, I'll give you my phone number, I'll give you my address, I'll give you everything, but until you show up, I just treat it like anything else. It's like a hello at the bus stop. It doesn't really mean much.
If I show up, should I just look through the window or knock on the door?
Bring that picture. I find that really motivating. Yeah. And that's, yeah. And then Beat the Crap is ramping up again. I'm not as active with that as much as I used to be. It's kind of taken its own life, and I like that. It's kind of growing all over North America. It's going back to be well. Yeah. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly want to do another one when, I know they have the gathering coming this weekend, so I figured I would wait, but I was going to reach out to you first, get your blessing, and but I certainly was interested.
You have my blessing.
And then I'll walk in.
You must kiss my picture, and you get my blessing. That'd be so creepy. No, yeah. Absolutely, man. I always say the more the scarier, right? So let's, do it. Yeah. And I think I gotta say this, man, because I think it's exceptionally respectful that you even are like, well, the gathering's coming up, so I don't want to have it at the same time. And it's not a competition thing. It's like literally you're being respectful. Like, without mentioning names of this clown, but there is people who, when I left a particular school, and Beat the Crap was held on a particular day, and everybody was meeting there, they decided to take their group away and do an event on the exact same day because they wanted that, exactly. It's a fucking charity, for God's sakes. You know what I mean? You want to be the boss, but don't be a fucking dickhead about it.
You know, there's just ways of doing things. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, come on, you know.
Yeah, I can swear on this thing, right? Is that okay?
That's okay. Yeah, no. Guess what? Yeah. No.
Yeah, I just thought it was, and it's like,
no, that's crappy. There's just a way of doing things, you know.
and I know imitations is, a form of flattery and everything, but God damn it, like some of these people I trained for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's like everything down to my T-shirts, the way I was doing the black on black, they copied. And it's like, again, I don't own it. Just be cool about it, you know?
Yeah, just be respect. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I mean, gosh. I mean, that's. Yeah, I mean, like when I wanted to plan one, I mean, I reached out to you, as you know. It's like I'm not gonna just go ahead and just do this without talking. You know what I mean? There's just a way of doing things, you know.
By the way, your check hasn't cleared yet, so.
Oh my God. All right, I'm gonna have to call the bank, man. I gotta see what's going on with that.
Yeah, so that's basically it right now. There seems to be a big enough interest again that people want to start training on a regular basis. So I've been kind of contemplating on maybe starting a class again. My wife's really bugging me to start teaching on a regular basis again.
Well, maybe you should now that maybe COVID seems hopefully fully behind us and stuff. Yeah, maybe now's the time to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was almost my full retirement, to be honest with you. At that point, I was like, yeah, maybe it's a
I
sign.
think there's a lot of people's retirement, you know, potentially, you know, yeah.
But and again, like if people want to train, like I know there's some people that reached out from the GTA, like actually in Toronto. I'm about an hour away from Toronto, but there's a lot of people out there that they can train with, like especially in Ottawa. And man, if you're in Finland, go check those guys out, man. Like they are definitely. If you want to get challenged, go to that Monster Factory because I'm telling you, it's scary. And I had to go back to it because it made that impression on me where I was like, holy shit.
Wow.
They have that fire in the belly sort of thing.
That's great. I mean, and the fact that, you know, they're considering bringing you back out as well.
Yeah. Hey, you know, I always kind of laugh about this, right? Because it's like, I don't take myself too seriously when it comes to some of this stuff. And it's like, I have like panic attacks when I do seminars because I just like, oh.
Yeah, you want to make sure you're giving them great stuff and that you're articulating. No, I think everybody, I mean, I know I do. I'm like, oh my God, am we doing this right? Are they getting it right? You know, it's like, yeah.
4:00, in Spain at 4:00 in the morning, I literally jumped out of bed. I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? I'm teaching for a week, like
it just finally
I had a year to like digest this, and it was like literally 4 hours before teaching.
Man, that would be wow. That for me, that would be extreme mental overload. Like prepping for a week's. Wow. Yeah.
Brother, it was so funny because because Benjamin's done this camp for many years, right? Mm-hmm. And when he showed up, he had like a binder, and he's like handing out notes to everybody.
And you're just like,
and I'm like, oh shit. I'm like looking for napkins.
Yeah, here, guys. It's yeah.
And it was crazy
for you next time.
For him, it was he's. Oh yeah, exactly.
I'll put a bunch of these, and they can just
draw a mustache on it. Yeah, it was like nuts, man. But I don't know if you've had a chance to train with Benjamin or speak with him. Like the guy is like.
We tried getting him on. So far, no luck. But yeah, would love to have him on.
Class starts at 8:01. He's like, "What's going on?" Right. Meanwhile, my class starts at 8, and at 8:15, I'm like, "You guys ready?"
8:01, yeah, 8:01, like ready to run, warm up, do some sprints, calisthenics.
I would show up late to his classes because I hate his warm-ups. It's like, okay, everybody run up and down here, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. See ya in 20. Like, man, you go to the bathroom every time I have a class.
I'm like, well, it's that time of the day.
Yeah, the food, the time change. Time change.
It's really having a rough effect on me.
Oh, man. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on again.
Hey, man. Thanks for honestly, and I'm pretty sure everybody out there is going to agree with me. I'm so happy that you came back. I am.
I really appreciate it. You were one of the people I mentioned, when you reached out to me. So I really appreciate it.
I
Yeah.
was super pissed, like that kid that tried to kick me in the face. I was like fuming, and I actually reached out to Tim. I'm like, give me his number. Like, he didn't even say anything.
Give me your number.
And no, man, like we all, I'm pretty sure we can all agree. We can all agree on one thing: is that we're super happy that you're back, and this stuff means a lot to us because you literally, you've opened so many doors for so many people.
Yeah.
But it just, I think you're one of those people that has actually helped blur the lines between groups, so they actually are willing to take a look at other stuff. So I don't know what to say, man. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's having folks like you on a show and so, being called brother by guys like you is such an honor. I mean, I have such profound respect for you guys, man. Steve Sachs, you, Matt, you guys are just monsters, animals, but at the same time, some of the most just down to earth, great guys, So we need more guys like you in this community, So, but yeah, pleasure to have you back on. I'm sure it won't be the last time. And again, I'm gonna have this guy.
I actually went out today and I didn't get a chance to do it, but I was gonna get a T-shirt with 355 embroidered, but I had to make dinner for the kids.
But you're gonna have to get that done, and then just put the actual channel, FMA discussion, 350, episode 355. That's
I actually asked if they can put that on my business cards at work.
Episode 355.
Yeah, I'm about to build a couple of houses for you and whatever you want. But have you checked out 355?
I know you're talking about cabinets, but I want to know, can you just check this out?
Well, this cabinet's only 355 inches long.
300, and it only costs $355.
There you go. All right, brother. Thank you for having me on.
All right, anytime. You take care.
Blast as always, and thanks for all the questions and whatnot.
Yeah,
and like I said, if you have any questions, and if you want the 2 cents of material I have, just reach out. I'd be more than happy to send it to you.
Yeah, folks, do take advantage of this. I mean, and also tell the family said thank you for borrowing you for almost 2 hours. So tell them.
They don't even know I'm gone. I just had like a basketball, just with one of my T-shirts there.
He's just sitting in the chair like.
Daddy's so tired.
He's been there for days.
That's what I did when I went to Finland. All right, brother.
All right, take care.
All right, take care.
All right, that wraps up. What does it wrap up? Oh my God, I can't believe I'm missing the number here. Oh, 436, if I'm not mistaken. I'm a little rusty, guys. Yeah, thanks to everybody that jumped in, commented. Appreciate it. It does feel good to be back. Yeah, we'll just go see where it goes. I'm definitely got some lined up. I can honestly fairly say I won't probably be doing the frequency that I was doing and that, but nevertheless, I am back and I'm still going to continue doing. Yeah. And like I always said, until 2 reasons: the interest is gone from folks, or it's just becomes so incredibly toxic, where I just lose interest. But assuming those two don't play into the fold, I will be here. So again, thanks to everybody that took the time and watched this. Rene's just such a funny guy. How can you not watch Rene? Don, Dino, Franco. Part 2. Yeah, Richard, you got to watch episode 355. You won't need a part 2 after watching episode 355.
Samuel, thank you. Ken, thank you. Yeah, Ken, thanks so much. And let me just make sure I'm not missing any other comments. Yeah, yeah, Pat. I hope to as well. Like, I really want to get to your guys' neck of the woods. You know, Toronto and that area. Yeah, and I think it's going to happen, Pat. If I'm not mistaken, early spring next year. I think. Yeah, and check back. I'll have to send you a new one, Rene. I'm sorry. Rene's check bounced. Oh my goodness. All right, guys. Again, yeah, thank you so much. And I will yeah, well, let me see. Who is coming up? Yeah, so this next couple weeks I'm gonna kind of be focusing on makeup. So we got Darcy, another Canadian. He's coming on. I'm going to try to reach out to Miguel Ruby. I really want to get him on. He's so deserving to be on. New York Dog Brothers. Nick Merchant, Steve Sachs, Chris Sari, and maybe one else. That should be fun. And they went up to Canada and all that. So we're just concentrating on the New York faction there. Chris Durbaum next week. Yes. Kun Tao lives in Florida. That should be a good one. We've only had a few episodes, covering Kun Tao. So that should be a good one. Matter of fact, that's going to be next Wednesday. Test run, I believe, is going to be Monday. So by all means, check that out. And I may be doing a makeup this weekend. I got to just talk to Darcy on that. I want to get those out of the way. Folks, I promised I would do. And, when I took that month off. So I want to, those are kind of priorities. But anyway, folks, and Rene was one of those guys because matter of fact, we were supposed to originally do it when he was in Finland. So when I got back on, I wanted to make sure I got him and get a couple of the other guys that, I told I was going to get on. So, all right, folks, I will see you next time.